Thank you for coming, and I welcome everyone from the Pure Presence Summit. That was a wonderful summit, and I didn't see all of it. I saw a few people, and I saw the closing with Karen Drucker's singing. It was beautiful, her songs, and also James Twyman, Francis Lucille, and Rupert Spera. And what I felt was touched. My heart was just touched by what I experienced in all of those, with all those people. My heart was just greatly touched. And we speak about that often, right? My heart is touched. So the understanding of what this means, my heart is touched, is that we're touching truth because our heart has truth. It's always here in us, infinite truth in our heart. Right? Our heart is connected to the whole totality, to the whole being, to God. And so when we say our heart is touched, we mean truth is touched. And we experience truth and we experience in our heart. So we have an experience. It isn't just like, okay, I think I understand what you're saying, right? That's mind. When the heart is touched, it's a very different, it's an experience. It's not a thought. It's not a belief. It's not new understanding. It's not new information. It's not knowledge. It's an experience. Our heart is touched by this. And that happened to me with each of those people that I'm talking about in the Pure Summit. And I'm very grateful for that because anytime my heart is touched, I'm grateful. Sometimes a lot of tears come. It did when I was listening to James Twyman. I was actually jumping on a treadmill when I was listening to it in the morning, and the tears were just flowing down so much my shirt was drenched. Why tears? Sometimes that happens when the heart is touched. It's just opened. It's open to something that it might not have been open to before, and the gratitude is just overwhelming at that time. You're touching God. You're touching truth. It's an amazing thing. And so I'm very grateful that this happened with the Pure Presence Summit and these beings. And it's interesting because the reason I'm saying this is because it's not the words that were said. It's not the words that were sung, although they were pretty nice. It's that the person is speaking from truth. The being is speaking from truth. It's not even a being anymore. It's really truth speaking in that vehicle, that particular person, body, mind, vehicle. It's truth speaking from there. And that's what touches my heart and your heart. The truth in you that's beyond a body, beyond a mind, beyond a person. That's what's touched. And it's touched by truth. That's what touches it. Truth always touches truth. Truth always touches the heart. And it needs to come from truth. If someone said those exact same words, but they were just repeating it, or they were reading off a teleprompter or a script or something that they'd memorized, but it wasn't coming from their heart, from truth, it wouldn't have the same effect. The words don't really matter that much. And music is a wonderful way of getting into that because, as James Twyman said in his talk, he said, music goes directly to the heart. It's not filtered through thoughts. It's not filtered through, let me compare this and understand this and make sense of it. It just goes directly to the heart. And so my experience of when the heart is touched, it's like an arrow is shot into the heart, but it's a beautiful arrow. It's a wonderful thing, but it's very direct. It just, there's no thoughts in the way. There's nothing in the way. It just hits. And as I said, sometimes tears come, not always. It could be any experience that we have, but the heart is touched. The heart is touched. And so in these silent transmissions, it's also like that. The heart is touched because this is truth. This is truth that is always in you. It's always been in you. You don't have to learn it. You can't learn it. And there's no need to, because it's always there, fully, fully, fully there. It's only our opening to it. The truth itself is infinite, and that is you. It's only how much we open to it so it can reveal itself to us. That's all. The truth is always there. It's a realization, a revelation. That means something that's already here, not something new. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Coming from that Pure Presence Summit, you're bringing the truth that touched you there, because your heart has opened from things that you've seen there, whether from my transmission or any of the other things that you've experienced. And there were many, many things to open our heart, many, many truth speaking to truth. That happened a lot then. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I'm so grateful to experience that myself, and that you have a chance to, that you had the opportunity to. So I hope with this silent transmission, the same openness, something beyond words, beyond thought. You don't have to understand this with your mind. There's something in you that already knows. Let your attention rest on that. That was wonderful. It always is. I had two thoughts during that entire time. The first thought was, um, samadhi is your job now. My job is to be in this state of bliss. That's my job. What a great job. I don't need to ask what it pays because bliss, right? There's nothing you could have more than that. So that doesn't matter. But that seems to be the job now, which is kind of interesting. And the second question was an answer to a question that somebody asked at the Pure Presence Summit on the chat thing that I saw. So I didn't see that, so I couldn't answer it there. So I'll answer it now. And the question was, are you always in this state of spaciousness and bliss? And so the answer to that is not always. Um, Always when I'm doing this, always when I'm teaching, yes. And most of my life, yes. Now, it wasn't always like this, but most of my life, yes, it is this experience. But occasionally I'm pulled into thought. I'm pulled into believing a thought or seeing the world and judging and things like that, as everybody is, as you are. And so occasionally that does happen for me still. And but all of it, even the judgment and any thought, is happening in this great space, right? For all of us, it is. But my attention is so much on this great space that never goes away. So this great peace, bliss, space, infinite totality is always here. And yet thoughts can come up in it and even disturb me. I can even be upset about them or judging somebody or something like that, or any way that I'm not in truth. I can have thoughts that are not in truth, and all thoughts are not in truth. So, but those are all happening in truth. They're all happening in this great infinite field of truth, of reality. So it's a different kind of experience because everything is happening in this great space, including this body, including a pain or an itch or anything that's going on in the body. That's also happening in this enormous space, in this infinite space. So in some ways, I guess I'm never out of this because that is my awareness is on this all the time. But I can be distracted and pulled a little bit into thoughts, into a pain in the body, into tiredness, into any kinds of things, into upset, into being judging somebody, which is an interesting thing because I think I was probably very judgmental before, and so that still comes up, but that's so untrue because there is only this great space. And all the beings that we see that would judge really are nothing but this. So any judgment has to be a lie, really. Even though I'm experiencing it and seeing it, it's not really true because everything is this great space. Every being that we see is this great infinite space, is this infinite love. That's really the core of it. And when we love somebody, a child, a pet, a dog, a spouse, a girlfriend or boyfriend, when we really feel that love, that's actually what we're loving. We're seeing love itself. We're seeing truth itself in that being that's beyond any being. It's just that we're not aware of it. We think it's the being that we love, and we love them because they're like this, or beautiful, or nice, or kind, or loving, or whatever it is. We don't realize that we're actually seeing the true nature of them. And that's what we love. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so if anybody has any questions or when Pedro has one. Okay, so you raised your hand. Good. And I'll unmute you. Oops, come on. Lower hand, asked to unmute. Okay, I have to ask you to unmute. So you unmute. Good. Okay.
Hi, Peter. What was very powerful this session? Very powerful. You are talking about love, and this time I felt the love because my heart chakra is completely open, and I just felt the energy expanding like very easy, very like if you don't stop the session, I think my energy go until the to feel all the world, because this session was simply amazing. I felt really the love, the word, the word love that you are talking. I felt this time. It's
Yeah,
completely beautiful.
yeah, yeah, it is. And it is also infinite. So that
Yeah,
you
if you
feel
don't
that you
stop
go to the
the
space for
session,
the whole world, that's
is
your realization of what actually is. It does fill the whole world. Your love, the love that you're experiencing actually does feel. When you feel that, the whole world is experiencing that because we're not separate. So this is one of the things when we say, you don't wake up for yourself alone. You don't wake up for yourself alone because there is no self alone. There is no separate self. So you're really waking up for the entirety of the infinite, of all
yeah.
totality,
This
of all
time,
being, every being.
I don't felt any pain. I just felt like the heart is open, and I felt the energy coming very easy from the inside of the heart.
It works that way, right? It's worked on you in all this time. So it's gone through the resistance of the heart, and it itself, without you doing anything, has broken through all that and left it like wide open, which is the nature of love itself. Love itself has no closing. It doesn't even have an object or a subject. It's beyond all that. It's the totality itself. So love is very connected with God, with the totality, with our true nature. It's not separate from that. That experience of love is really the experience of no separation, the illusion of separation gone. And this is what's left. Isn't that amazing? Like everything we could possibly ever even dream of, it's beyond even that. And yet it is the nature of reality. It's the nature of what we are. It is what we are. So all we're really doing is we're opening to what we are. And that's what the silent transmission is doing. It's sort of removing the blocks, removing the,
For me, each session I felt always open more and more. Each
yeah,
session
yeah.
that we make.
Is it okay to have this recorded of you,
Yes,
Pedro?
yes, no
Or do you
problem.
want me to delete it? Okay,
No problem.
good. Yeah, that's a
It was
wonderful sharing.
very
Thank
good.
you.
It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you,
And
Peter. Thank you all.
okay, so Uma, all right, so I'm going to ask you to unmute and then, and
Can
you
you hear me?
unmute. Yes, yes.
Hi, yeah, thank you. That was incredible. I met you through the Pure Presence Summit, so I loved that session and I loved this one. Sort of along the lines of what Pedro was saying, I I have been feeling that my heart um, has been closed for the last year or so, and so this what I feel during these transmissions is it's so strong and so tangible, and I feel as if I completely dissolve into it, I will explode. So I was just inviting it into, into the heart, and breathing sort of spherically in and out that into the heart to kind of, I don't know, reintroduce love into this space, or into this level. And that was just really interesting because I can't say that it opened per se, but it did feel kind of like the ocean, like, kind of lapping up against the shore or something. So my experience of it is not necessarily heart opening at this point, but it's very strong. And I experience it, I think, more at a I experience it at a somatic level, but I don't know. It was just really interesting. I'm also working on needing to heal my thyroid, so I was inviting this into my thyroid, and then it wasn't responding. So then I realized, like, there is no thyroid in this field.
Yeah.
So I invited the idea of the thyroid into that love, and then it sort of, the two were able to meet.
It does
So
what's really in your highest benefit always. So we don't really need to ask it to do anything. I mean, I've been doing healings on people for 20 years with this, and it's taught me that whatever I think people need, whatever they think they need, it's usually not right. But this has an infinite knowing, and it always does what's right. It's amazing that it does that. And all of us have the experience of having our heart closed over our whole life, from a child on. Every disappointment we have, from the smallest thing, every Friday, our mother or father buys us an ice cream cone or something, and then one Friday they don't, and we're crushed. It's like, so our heart, it doesn't trust as much anymore. I can't trust him. He promised every Friday and now I don't get it. The smallest little thing will disappoint us and have the heart close. So when we do heart opening exercises, which I don't know if you've done them, but there's heart opening exercises. I used to do that with people, and always there was pain. Always they would come up with pain because they're approaching the border of where they closed. And you need to, because you have to break through that, because our heart is actually infinite. Our heart is infinite. Our mind is not infinite. It can think of things, but it really can't think infinity. But the heart actually is infinite. Its knowledge is infinite. So all the borders that we put on it, we're taking the infinite and making it into something that it's not, because it isn't. We're doing that with our mind. The heart itself never does that. But the mind says, don't trust that person again, or I'm never going to be hurt again, so I'm going to not trust them as much, which is not really the way to have an open heart and also love or have a happy life. It's to stay open anyways, no matter what happens, and be vulnerable to whatever happens, because the heart is very, very, very strong. It cannot be damaged. It's absolutely, completely invulnerable throughout all space and time. So nothing actually can happen to the heart. It's the mind that says, that the heart just loves. It just loves. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't have a broken heart. It doesn't have anything like that. It just loves. It's all it knows how to do. It just loves. It doesn't pick and choose who to love. It just loves. It is just love itself. And that's, so having the experience of having it work on your heart to open it to what it is, and always has been, but without the mind's interference, because the mind will interfere with the heart. So when we understand something with the mind but not the heart, we don't really understand it. When we understand it with the heart, we don't need the mind. We actually don't need, we have a habit of wanting to understand. So we go like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then we try and figure it out, but it's never going to be accurate. It's never going to be really what the heart knows in its own knowing way, not in a mental way, but far more than that. In its own knowing, it knows everything. And so when we just stay in the heart, we learn after a while that it's a wonderful thing. It's so humbling to the mind to begin to awaken, because it's constantly showing us that we don't know anything all the time. It's just constantly doing that. And eventually we get it, and we just don't try anymore. We go like, I can't really, but I feel it. But I am it. I am it. And it doesn't have any boundaries to it. There is no border to it. There's no end or beginning to it. It just is everywhere. Love is a very, very powerful thing. It is truth itself. And it's an incredibly powerful thing. It can heal physical illnesses that no Western doctor or medicine can do. It's amazing what love can do. We don't understand really what love is. It's beyond any of our concepts of what power is and what powerful is. It's an amazing thing. And we understand, but we can feel it, because something in the heart just sort of knows this. And without doing anything, these amazing things happen. So, but your awareness of the heart closing is wonderful, because that's awareness. So, you're able to say, oh, my heart is closed. And you don't want it to be, of course not, you know, but in actuality, it's never been closed. because it can't be. It's always fully infinite. Just have to come to that realization by subjective evidence, right? We don't have any evidence for awareness or awakening or any of these things. These are subjective. Throughout all the time of all awake beings, it's always been subjective. That's our evidence. There isn't really objective evidence. There are a few things that scientists have worked on with this, but it doesn't matter because the subjective experience of this is so much truer than any objective evidence could ever be. It's just an absolute knowing. You know, when we open the heart and see and have this experience, it's like, wow, okay, I don't know what this means in my mind, but it is real, right? I'm feeling it. It's real. And it's even more real than anything else because somehow, if we keep coming back to this experience over and over, we realize it's the only thing in the world that doesn't change. Everything else changes. All my feelings change, my thoughts change, my physical body changes, how it feels moment to moment changes. Everything is changing. My relationships change, everything is changing. But this never changes. And that's an amazing thing. We find the one thing in the world that never changes. Mountains change, rivers change, the earth changes. This doesn't change. So the one thing that doesn't change is the most reliable thing there is, right? Because it doesn't change. Every time we come back to it, our experience gets deeper and deeper and more profound until the point of, you know, what happens through here, like CDs where people are healed and different experiences happen. Yes, that does happen deeper and deeper, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing that it's experiencing. There's something about that that has never changed. Awareness itself, you know, what we see in the pure presence, there was so much truth in that thing and the Course in Miracles, just so much beautiful truth I'm so grateful for it too because I don't really see teachers or pay much attention to that. I just sit in samadhi. I get everything from that. So seeing it in other beings, oh, it's like, wow, this is just too good to believe. I mean, seeing truth in another being and feeling that truth, and then words that are really good, you know, that are actually pointing to this truth too at the same time. Whew, that's awesome. You know, that's just such a thrill. It was such a thrill for me. I'm very grateful. And Bill is also like that. I mean, his heart is here, you know, his heart is in this space. So we had this wonderful conversations and connections that were with words, but also just truth to truth and heart to heart, which is such a beautiful communication. It doesn't need words. And that's what these silent transmissions are. They're actually conversations and teachings and healings and all kinds of things, but without words. You know, and it seems like I've been seeing a lot of this. I have friends that are doing transmissions too, different kinds of transmissions, but always in silence. It's just showing me, and Pedro has helped, you know, show him like you should do this, has encouraged me to do this. It's showing me that this is really, if not the way to awakening, it's certainly one of the most powerful and primary ways for our awakening. And our awakening is so important. There is really nothing more important for the world, not just for ourselves, but for the whole world and all beings throughout all space and time. Our awakening is that important. There is nothing more important than that, you know. But it's hard to do because the mind is in the way. The mind is the obstacle to it. And we try and get there through the mind. And we're always going to run into a dead end that way. So something has to be more than that. And that's what the Shaktipat is. It's a way of not having the mind interfere. I mean, it does. We're sitting there, like you say, I understand it with the mind, or I want it to do this. The mind is still trying to contribute. It does. It wants to be helpful. It wants to contribute. The thing is, we realize after a while that it really can't. So I think of the mind as like a 2-year-old that wants to drive your car, you know, just, you don't give him the keys, really. It's not a good idea. He's just going to drive it right into a tree. You know that's going to happen. So don't give him the keys, no matter how much it insists. And he wants to help. He says, I'm going to be the chauffeur. I want to drive. I want to help. Sorry, you're lovely and I love you, and pat on the head. But I'm not going to give you the keys. Sorry. You know, let's give you a toy car you can play in and do that, but not this actual car. It's not in your skill set. You just can't handle it. So that's how I think of my mind. It wants to do this, and it's learned over time. It's learned a few true things. It's learned that it doesn't know anything. And after a while, it's been willing to accept that. And that's very helpful. It realizes that all its thoughts are not true, because thousands of times of testing that, it turns out to always be true. So none of its thoughts are true. And it accepts that now. There are times it forgets. It can say, I think this or that. But it's seen in this greater perspective that knows that none of the thoughts are true. So it doesn't take it seriously for long. Thank you, Uma.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions about that, about the heart, or?
No, I feel like a lot of what I needed to hear, you just said.
Yeah, it happens. The other thing is, being in this, as Pedro has shown me, that it's good to be in this place as often as possible. And that's why I have the videos, and that's why I'm recording this as a video as well, so that it can be, people can just use it anytime that's convenient for them, that they can use it and just sort of just saturate in it, just feel it, because that's really important. There's so many distractions and conditioning in the world that we need to come into a place without the conditioning and stay in a place without conditioning for some time, and repeatedly do that to get us to live in truth instead of our dream of a self and our dream of separation. It takes time to do that. It takes time because we've been conditioned so heavily, and our heart has been conditioned by ourself and others, to like close. We've been, and we need to spend time where it's just open, so we don't do that anymore and feel like this feels better. This is way, way better. And as somebody said in the Pure Presence Summit, was having trouble spending a year experiencing this, but then going to suffering again and going to the thought again, which happens. Is just common for all of us. Almost all of us do this. Very, very rare when somebody doesn't, like Eckhart Tolle and Ramana Maharshi. They were the few people, one out of millions, who didn't experience things in that way. But for most of us, we have the awakening and then go to sleep, awakening, sleep, over and over and over again. But that's teaching us too, because the suffering we get from falling to sleep again, it becomes much worse than it was before, but it needs to, because now we're learning, no, I like this way better. Yeah, this is great. No suffering, happiness. This is good. This is not good. Struggling and suffering and having problems, that's not so good. And it's teaching us that. So we make our choice. No, I like this better. Yeah, no, I don't like that anymore. No, I like this better. So it's necessary because it's all experiential. So the suffering itself is experiential. We're experiencing it, feels horrible, beyond anything that we think about it. It doesn't feel good to feel contracted and, suffering like this, and being free and open feels wonderful. So we keep coming back, to that. Life shows us this in every way. We fall in love and go, I like that. That's a good feeling. Yeah, I love this. This is wonderful, falling in love. And then something happens and someone disappoints us and we're not feeling that feeling. I don't like that. That's terrible. You betrayed me or whatever. I like the love part. That was really good. I want to go back to that again. And it's showing us this because the truth is our nature itself is love. Our nature is love. We are love. So of course that's going to feel good. And of course it's guiding us back to our true nature, back to ourself. It's guiding us to truth, which is wonderful. Life is so perfect and generous. Even the suffering is part of the perfection and the generousness. We need to understand that life is always teaching us. It's not here to screw with us or, make our lives horrible, or it's always to teach us. Everything that happens in life is to teach us. No matter how miserable we are in a situation, that's also teaching us. Everything is teaching us. And if we can see it like that, it's much easier on us. We feel, oh, okay, it's all just a lesson. It's all just a lesson. I don't have to take it seriously. Like, oh my God, this happened. My life is over. It's ruined and this is terrible. You can say, no, that's a lesson. I need to learn from it. I need to learn why it feels so bad and what's going on and what's really going on. And the mind will say, I know what's going on. That person's a jerk and they're terrible and I never want to talk to them again. You go, is that really exactly what's going on? Or maybe there's something more. That would be a pretty shallow lesson to learn. I never want to talk to that person again. Really? That's all you got? That's all that came from that lesson? So it's always much deeper than that and much truer and much
Mm.
truer.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma.
Yeah.
Lennon, do you have a question or something? From Lennon to everyone, thanks. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being part of it. It's very helpful for me that people share in this, because I guess, like I learned today, that's my job is to just be in samadhi. But this is a way of sort of putting me in that thing. So if nothing else of my whole, week, at least for this period of time, that's my job, is to just be in samadhi. And I don't know how it happens. It just does. There isn't a way of controlling this. It's not like, okay, samadhi time, turn on the twist, turn on the samadhi dial, click it to full. It isn't like that. It just happens. It's always been like that. There is no way to enter into this. It is reality, and somehow we just happen. Laura, do you have anything a question or anything that you want to say?
Experience was, it wasn't very like spectacular, no bells and whistles, but just sort of it's very nice, and it feels a little bit like stretching and unclenching. So stretching in general, and then unclenching in the head. At least as when I get out of my own way, so to speak.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have a question. I just like doing these with you. I've been doing them like at night. I've been debating whether to wear headphones for a silent transmission or not, whether it helps or not.
I would do that. I would
Oh,
wear headphones for a silent transmission, because it's like it's sort of saying I should
sounds
be paying attention. As if there was a sound going to come, I should be paying attention to it, even though there's no sound. But it's sort of focusing your mind on paying attention to it. By if you want to, if you're thinking about doing it, I probably would do that,
okay.
even though there's not going to be a sound. It's like, maybe if you're waiting for the sound, you're paying attention, right? If you're waiting for the thing to come, okay, what's going to happen now? That means you're paying attention, because that's really the approach to it, is like, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen? I don't know. Let's see. Then you're present, right? This is what it does. It brings us into presence, because we're waiting for something to happen, and we can't know what that is. This is the beauty of it. We can't know what it is. It's not like, someone's going to tell you what it is. We don't know what it is. For each person, it's going to be different. For every single person, it's different. And so we just open to it and see, what is it? What's happening now? And then deeper and deeper, we realize it sort of brings us on a journey into discovering life, discovering who we are, discovering the world in a way that we didn't think before. because everything that we think about life and the world is all our conditioning, right? We've been told what life is, told who we are, and we believe it. So this is our life. We think it's like this, but in fact, it's not like that, because no one who told us actually knew either. They don't even know who they are. How do they know who we are? Right? So there's all this conditioning that happens, and a lot of it is just advertisement. It's like, if you buy this product, you will be this, and if you don't, you're a loser. So we'd feel badly because we don't have that, so we must be a loser now, so it's all, and we're comparing ourselves to different people. It's just, it isn't real, and it's also not really very helpful for us. It's not beneficial for us. It doesn't bring us to a place of love and peace and happiness, but our true nature is that. So the more we let it go, the happier we feel. That's all we're doing. We're just letting all the conditioning go. That's where the happiness comes from. That's where the bells and whistles come from. Bells and whistles are here, right? They're like a circus. They're going all the time, but in the most beautiful way. And we don't hear it because there's another noise that's very, very loud, which is our conditioning, our thoughts, which continue happening. How do we come back and feel this great space? Like with your children, they take so much attention, right? They know how to get attention. That's their job. My job is samadhi. Their job is getting attention. And they're really good at it. They're born being good at it, right? Even an infant, just like, I need attention. Yeah. It just knows what to do, right? Automatically. No one had to teach them to cry. Just knows to cry. So all of that is happening also in this great space. They're in this great space. Your body and mind is in this great space. Your room is in this great space. Everything is happening in this great space. Everything in the world is happening in this great space. Everything in the universe is happening within this great space. And we are this great space. So when we start opening up enough, we start feeling, oh, wow, I'm this great space. And it without that, life seems very, very serious, very challenging. It's like, oh my God, this happened. Oh, this is the end of the world. Like making a mountain. But when we're watching it from this great space, it's never like that. It's just something happening. All of it is just something happening. Oh, the body's dying. Yes, something happening. That's all. One body out of the infinite bodies. Yeah, that's it. But it's my body. It's not your body. It's all just in this great space. So all bodies are your body in this great space. You're the great space. Every body that's ever existed is in this great space. They're all your body. All beings, planets, solar systems, universes. Everything is happening within this. That's the truth of reality. That's the way reality really is. But we have to feel it because the mind doesn't want to go there. The mind is holding on to I, me, mine. And it's holding on for dear life to I, me, mine because it feels if it doesn't have I, me, mine, it will die. But how can it die? It's the infinite. How could that die? If that died, then everything would die. And nothing would exist if that died. Nothing would ever have existed if that died. So it doesn't die and it can't die. But bodies do. They change and die all the time. But that's okay, because that's what happens in this great infinite space. So we come back more and more into this great infinite space. I mean, I wouldn't call it bells and whistles, but somehow, in my case, the energy that runs through there is quite powerful. It's just like, whew. And sometimes it feels like, I don't think the body's going to take it this time. It's just going to explode. Even after 20 years, it's still like that. It's like it just gets more. So, but it never explodes. And the body's always still here afterwards, even though it feels like that. And it comes in waves. Sometimes it's like, and then, then it'll be a little bit less. And then like, oh, it's a tidal wave. Whoa. I don't know if it can take the tidal wave, but it always does, you know? And the only reason that feels like a tidal wave is because the mind is thinking for some reason that there's a body and that it's limited to the body. Yeah, if that much energy was contained in the body, it would kill it. But it's not contained in the body. It's infinite energy, and it's only in the infinite itself. So once it releases that and it comes back to the infinite, it can take any amount of energy. All the energy is only happening within it. So any amount of energy, look how much energy it takes. The birth of a star, the ending of a star, this huge energy that happens when a star implodes on itself. Enormous energy. The Big Bang and the creation of that's enormous energy released in that. But yet this held all of that without any problem at all. And that's what we are. So we can too. This is what the heart knows. So feeling sometimes that it's going to explode is good, because it means, oh, you're feeling the energy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a lot of energy. Good. But it's okay. I mean, the mind can come in and say, that's going to explode. Back off a little bit. Back off a little bit. That's too much. Instead of just go with it. Just dissolve into it.